Never be too safe. All right, everybody. Breathe in and breathe out. I know this is chaos. I know there's a lot of pressure on my fellow church media friends right now, but you are where you are for a reason, for such a time as this. Let's talk about some ways you can better serve your church during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's talk about ways you can improve your live stream for free. Welcome to Blackbar. Hi, I'm Caleb. As of the recording of this video, the majority of the United States has shut down gatherings larger than a few hundred people. That means most churches. The only tangible church that exists right now is the online church. And that transition took a lot of us off guard. Last week, we put out a video on how to get your church live stream set up and running as fast as possible. I'd suggest watching that first if you haven't already. Today, we're gonna talk about ways to make your live stream more engaging, more interesting, and more effective, all without spending a dime. Quick plug, if you run into any issues, or if you have any questions, or if you just want to connect with other church media people that are also losing their minds, check out the Blackbar Discord. I'm there, and my team will be there, along with tons of other online church creatives that are willing and ready to help. We are all in this together. All right, to the list. Number 1, don't live stream. I know that kind of sounds like a joke, but I'm not entirely joking. There are significantly less possibilities for technical failure if you pre-record instead of live stream. Unless you're having your pastor respond to comments live from the pulpit, it shouldn't actually change your content at all. Between you and me, you don't even have to tell them that it's not live. Pre-recording your service also allows you to easily and effectively add slides and graphics and lyrics or whatever overlays you would like to appear on the screen. You can do that with just about any nonlinear video editor you've got. Final Cut, Premiere, even iMovie would do just fine. Once you've got the service perfected and exported, head over to OBS. Again, watch the previous video to learn how to set it up, link in the description. Create a new scene and add a media source from the dropdown. Navigate to your video and load it up. Once you go live, fire the scene and the video should start playing as if it was live. Magical. Number 2, start the conversation. Amid the chorus of pastors frantically scrambling towards getting their services online, I often hear the question, how can we take what we're already doing and get it online? That is the wrong question. We need to be thinking as the church how we can best utilize the medium of live stream. There's thousands of examples of successful live streamers online in places like YouTube and Twitch and Mixer. If you spend any amount of time watching these kinds of streams, you'll realize that live streaming is at its best when the audience is engaging and conversing about the content that's being streamed. The medium of live streaming is fundamentally different than that of a typical in-house sermon on a Sunday morning. It would be incredibly inappropriate in most churches to be constantly talking back and forth with the people sitting next to you in the pews about the sermon your pastor is preaching. That is not, however, how successful live streams work. People watch live streams to engage with the audience as much as the content being presented. I understand that this is probably a big culture shift for a lot of churches, especially for pastors. Please remember that many of the families watching these services are currently, for the most part, confined to their homes. The chat on their church's live stream may be some of the only conversations they get to have with church family throughout the week. Your church stream is more than your sermon. Encourage conversation. Have pastors online to start it. Be there to take prayer requests. Ask practical questions about the sermon being presented. Try avoid deleting comments if you can. Ignore the trolls, but guide off-topic conversations back onto the message. Your team can even post helpful links to message notes and online giving portals, contact forms, whatever. I guarantee that the service itself will be more memorable, more life-giving, more engaging, and more powerful for all of those who participate. Number 3, gather a crowd. This option will obviously go straight out the window for all called into quarantine, but we found it incredibly helpful at my church and wanted to share what we've learned. Instead of having our pastor preach to an empty sanctuary with a few cameras, we moved some couches and chairs onto the stage and had our pastoral staff and a few volunteers join us for the live stream. They worshiped with the music, they engaged with the sermon, and they allowed our online audience the opportunity to identify with the crowd that was there in person. Plus, it allowed our pastor to play off the people that were there, resulting in a more natural, organic experience. It felt intentional. It wasn't just a copy and paste of what we typically do on a Sunday morning. It was a deliberate decision to make our stream more engaging for the people that were watching, and it worked. We had multiple comments from people saying how much they liked the stage setup and how it made them feel more part of the community, even from a distance. Number 4, preach to your audience, not your room. This is a short one, but I've seen enough live streams doing it wrong that it bears mentioning. Your congregation knows there's no one in the room. Look at the camera. I know it's not super easy. Funny as it sounds, I much prefer the opposite side of the camera, but a little bit of eye contact goes a long way in making your stream more engaging. That being said, try to be natural about it. Staring at the camera for long periods of time without looking away can make people uncomfortable. Imagine it more like a conversation. It isn't 100% eye contact, maybe 75. Keep it natural, but be intentional. Lastly, and I'd argue most importantly, do not limit your ministry to Sunday morning. This is just some good all-around advice, but let's talk about live streaming first. How are you engaging with your kids, or with your youth, or men, or women? Why limit your live streaming to Sunday morning? Check your children's pastor on stage on Tuesday nights and let him run a service for the kids. Let your youth pastor prepare a message for the students. You could even dig up old sermon series from the vault and replay them throughout the week. There's families sitting home in quarantine, likely binging Netflix and playing video games. Let's give them something life-giving to enjoy. Let's make the church a place where they can visit online every day, not just once a week. For that matter, there's more to your church right now than your live stream. There are scared, hurting people out there. I absolutely understand and sympathize with the need to get your services online on Sunday. The simple fact of the matter is that when services don't happen, people don't give. We're all in survival mode. But remember why we're here: to be light, to be salt. We were put here for such a time as this. Pray for your community. Help them where you can, not just digitally, not just with inspirational quotes on Instagram. Pray for guidance, pray for influence, and pray that in all things that His will be done. God bless. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Blackbar. Make sure to check out the Discord. As mentioned before, we're happy to help you with anything you might be running into. Also, check out the podcast where we'll be diving deeper into the stuff we talked here and more tips coming up. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.